In this video, I'm going to show you how to animate an object within your C4 level using a rotation controller. I already have the level opened up, same level that we've been using in the previous videos. So what I'm going to do for this level is I'm actually going to make a rotating platform. So the first thing I'm going to do is add some geometry. So I'm going to create a cylinder. This will be high enough that you can see that there's a platform, but the player should be able to still jump onto the top of the platform. It's the look I'm going for here. So I'm going to just make a very small platform here. See if we can see it in the view. So okay, here is our little platform. Then around that I'm going to make a spinning propeller type shape. So I'm going to draw a box. So this will actually rotate around our platform. Scale that down so it's roughly the same height as the cylinder platform. Let me give it a different texture. Just do set material. So it now has a new material, texture here. Do save and play world real quick, just to make sure it looks okay. Right. So you can see we have our platform. We can jump up on top of it. Let's go back to the editor now. So what I would like to do is have the platform or the propeller rotate around the platform. Actually, I want to shrink it down just a little bit so that it's not touching the floor as it moves. Okay. Alright, so the way that you can apply an animation is via a controller. So I'm going to go to the property page for the propeller. And you'll notice there's several tabs here. One of them is controller. Select that tab and you see I have several different controller types I can pick from. You can actually write custom controllers and extend the level editor with your own custom controllers. I'm going to use rotate. Now this controller is not going to actually do anything until we specify the angle of rotation. So I'm just going to attach that for now and then proceed to the next step, and that is to place markers that define the axis of rotation. You'll notice that we have under the markers page on the ribbon, we have a rotation axis and a rotation center. So we can place these in the level, and the line that intersects those 2 points will be the axis of rotation. So I've selected that. I'm going to drop just roughly in the middle of the cylinder for the platform the marker, and I'll need one to be above the cylinder, and then so that was the axis, and I'll place the center here, and I'll move it down. And you'll want to have them fairly far apart. If they're too close together, you can have problems with numerical accuracy or rounding errors. And if they were right on top of one another, there would be no way to actually define what the axis is. Alright, so just because I've dropped those points is not sufficient. We'll actually need to now link those markers to the geometry. So in order to tell the rotation controller about this rotation axis we've defined, we will go to the properties of our propeller piece. We're going to create connectors. So I'm going to make one connector for each of the two markers. The way the rotation controller works is it's looking for a specific key, specific string defining the connector. One needs to be named cent for center, and we know it's going to be a marker, so I'm going to restrict the node type to marker. Add another one, call this one axis, change it to a marker. So these two node connectors will now be available. Now the way that you actually link your connectors to other things is you need to use the connect nodes tool. But first I'm going to select make sure the propeller selected it is. Now I've selected the connect nodes tool here. So this exposes the two connectors. I can then click on one of them. I'll select cent, and then one of the markers. You'll notice how cent stays selected or highlighted in addition to the location marker that I picked. Now the next step is under node, provided that you have the connect nodes tool selected, you will have this connect node option. It's Control L for the keyboard shortcut. Click that. You now see a dotted line connecting the two. We'll do the same thing for axis. So click on axis. So I'm unable to select that marker because it's inside the floor, so I'm going to use the scene graph to do the second selection. Control L. They're now linked. We now have provided enough information to the rotation controller. So what will happen is the propeller piece of geometry, go to its property page, when it loads this rotation controller, it will actually search through the scene graph the dependencies of the propeller geometry, and it'll look for connectors named cent and axis and follow those, and if they're markers, it will use that to then calculate the axis of rotation. So the next thing I need to do is now just provide some further information for the controller. I'm going to just give it a speed of half a revolution a second. Since restrict to angle range is not clicked, the start and finish angle do not apply. And I want it to be enabled from the start, so I'm going to leave everything else as is. Click OK. Save and play world. Now you'll see that my propeller is rotating. So here we see the working rotation of the propeller, controlled by the rotation controller. You'll notice that I can actually walk into the propeller and the character does not collide or get pushed around at all. That's just the nature of the way collisions work with world geometry. The character controller used for the main player assumes that all geometry is not moving. In fact, you might, if this was moving a little slower, I could probably land on top of it, but it would just slide out from underneath me. You do not stay attached where your feet are touching. So if I tried to land on it, it would not allow me to do that. In the next video, I'll show you how to trigger, turn on and off the rotation controller. So this concludes this video.